And we are on to leg 5 here of this pick 6, the Turf Classic, the Bourbon Turf Classic, Old Forester. Funny story: when you go to the Kentucky, or when you go to Churchill Downs and you order mint julep, it's not like at home where they actually like muddle up mint and do all. No, they just pour it from an Old Forester mint julep bottle. So I was a little sad to find that out. It tastes fine, but joining me is a frequent chat contributor, Mr. Nick Feldman, Mr. Hall of Fame, Mr. Morehead State Hall of Fame. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. It's Derby Oaks week. It's my bachelor party week, so
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a good week for me, and I'm just so excited to get to appear here and talk some horses.
Yeah, I did see that you mentioned something about after cashing big in the Derby, there's a chance that you just catch the next flight to Vegas. Just let me know because I'm sure I got some comp rooms out there. We're actually going over Memorial Day weekend, so
I
hey,
will for sure hit you up if I hit big. I will walk across the street to the airport and head out west to Vegas. So that would be kind of insane. But well, hey, there's a goal that we set, and let's hit it.
yeah. So you're where are you going to be? You said you're going to be in Keeneland.
Yeah, we're Friday. We're going down to Red River Gorge, which is like a geological, like hiking area that's like southeast of Lexington by like an hour. And I went to school at Morehead State, so they're kind of like a all there, and been there many times. We're going to rent a cabin, cook some steaks, and then Saturday we're going back to Lexington and then tailgating at Keeneland. They've got like live bands and stuff set up on the hill there, so
Oh
we're
yeah, that'll
we're
be fun.
yeah.
Yeah, I love Keeneland. I don't love the betting product so much, at least not this meet because I just got absolutely killed. But being
I'm
on site
right
is
there
a
with
beautiful
you.
place.
Yeah,
Um,
Keeneland was tough. First pick four I played today at Churchill, I hit. I didn't hit anything at Keeneland, so I'm glad that we're off Keeneland and to Churchill.
yeah, I laugh. I forgot if I mentioned this on stream or where it was, but um, two of probably my worst tracks, like day to day, are Belmont and Keeneland. I don't know why. I just don't do well at them. My two biggest hits ever are both at Belmont and Keeneland. So like it's just like so detrimental because like I have that one hit at both of them where I'm like, well, clearly, it's happened. But then like you look at like take those 2 days out of the equation and I'm like negative 80% at both of them or something ridiculous. And it's just like I don't know. I don't know why I keep doing it to myself. But Churchill Downs is a little bit more friendly to me. So I'm excited to talk through this race with you here. We're going to be going a mile and the eighth on the turf. The turf has looked good. It's green. It's not dying like it was last year when I saw it. So we'll see if it continues to hold up. I know we're getting a little bit of weather I think this weekend, but this is a really really tough race. Your morning line favorite, and we were talking a little bit before the stream, is Hong Kong Harry, and I think both of us kind of think like, this horse is probably going to float up a little bit. I could see it still getting a little bit of support, but I don't really see that horse being the favorite. I think either Santine here, the 8 horse, or possibly the 5 up to the mark are going to kind of go off as your favorite here. But you got some really nice horses in here. You Spooky Channel, who apparently just keeps on running like the Energizer Bunny. And yeah, I mean, you got a lot of great horses in this race. Where did you kind of land here?
So in turf racing, when I'm handicapping it, I like to look at three big things. One is what's the pace going to look like? I like to look at what's the class of the field. I feel like turf racing, classy horses win a lot. And then late pace, I like horses that are running late. Um, and when you kind of look at the pace of this race, and we kind of mentioned this off air there, I have a I I have a feeling it could be hot, but it's at least going to be fair. I think every horse in this race will get a chance to win this race based on their running style because I think that there's some horses that are going to try to go forward. There's going to be some pressing horses, and I think that that's going to allow some of the middle or trailing horses to get their turn of foot and come for home. Um, so, kind of having said that, my number one horse that I'm on is Up to the Mark, the Pletcher Irad horse, number 5. I think this is just an up and coming superstar type horse. As soon as he got to the turf, you watch his turn of foot coming home. He flies home. And his last race, he finally got to the Grade One level, and it was the Maker's Mark Mile at Keeneland. And you'll notice in the running lines there, Modern Games and Ches Pierre. If anybody watches the replay that day, that was a weirdly run race. The Chad Brown horse uh, ran a weird race where he was pushing the pace and kind of gave up and made middle moves. And Ches Pierre kind of Pratt went forward, hung back, and then he just blitzed them. And Modern Games was running late, but Up to the Mark was running behind him, and it was a photo finish for second. So I look at, like, if I'm thinking about a horse in this, what would Modern Games be in this race? I'm sure he would be pretty heavily favored. And Up to the Mark is to me a horse that with the expected pace, I think Irad's going to be sitting outside. I think he's going to make his classic outside move, and I think you're going to see this horse coming home pretty fast. So this is my top A pick.
Yeah. You know, my only concern with Up to the Mark, and I just haven't seen the horse run the 9 furlongs. I mean, he's done 8.5, so if he's gotten that, he probably will get the 9. But um, there's a good chance, like we were talking before, that this horse goes off at a much shorter price. So um, not necessarily like a complete toss for me, like another horse that we'll probably talk about later. But I'm still a little bit on the fence on what I'm going to kind of do with the 5. My top pick in this race is another, I think another horse that you liked in this race is Santini 8, for Brendan Walsh and Tyler Gaffleone. I'm definitely playing the horse for course angle here. 2 nice runs here at I said Arlington, Churchill Downs, one including the Arlington Million, and obviously this race last year, is kind of more of a forwardly placed horse. But I think if there's some pace in front of him, more than happy to just let the other horses go. I don't think he's going to get himself into any kind of trouble. There was a little bit of a question with how the turf was playing at Churchill, especially during Derby week. And we didn't really know what this horse was going to do, but this horse came right back to Churchill and won again on that kind of weird one-off Arlington Million weekend where they only ran, I think, the 2 races on that turf. So apparently he likes Churchill Downs. I know the turf was kind of funky then, but I'll definitely take another shot with this horse. I mean, he besides that turf mile at Keeneland, hasn't really embarrassed himself anywhere. The synthetic race, I mean, Wolfie's Dynaghost just dummied everybody like he does on synthetic every time. So I'm not gonna, hold that against him. And going a mile and 16th in the Sea Biscuit, you probably could have ran a little bit better, but Hong Kong Harry tends to own those races out west. So I mean, 9-2 is a great price. I don't know if we see 9-2, maybe more like 7-2, second choice. But I really like Santine here.
Yeah, I really like Santine as well. I mean, Up to the Mark is my top pick, but I also have Santine as an A as well. This is a must use horse. You kind of talked about the 2 for 2 at Churchill and all that. One thing I suggest everybody to do is go watch the replay on the Turfway race. He fell to his nose coming out of the gate, and so when you look at that running line, you kind of think, it was off a layoff. But no, he really had, that's a total toss race, and it'll be his second start. And so I expect him to run a really good race. So yeah, I mean, those two to me are kind of my top 2. And then after that, I think you can, depending on if you're playing horizontal or vertically, depends a lot, things like that. But to me, those are my must uses. I know you're a huge Wolfie's Dynaghost fan. So I definitely think this horse is in really good form, and I know it probably he's probably a big time synthetic lover. But he's five. Jonathan Thomas, he's back to back. What are your thoughts on Wolfie?
Yeah, I mean, I really like. I'm torn, right? Because I really think that this is a synthetic horse. I think his best races have come on a synthetic, um, but he just beat a horse by 2 1/4 lengths by the name of Verstappen, who just came back to just completely obliterate a race at Keeneland at a big price. On the turf. So if you kind of, I think you almost kind of upgrade that Kentucky Cup Classic, just coming back from what Verstappen did off that race. So um, my only concern is one, like I said, I think his best races are on synthetic, but two, I just don't know if he's going to be able to get out there and get a nice easy lead. I do think that there are a couple other pace horses in here, but probably kind of toes the line between a B or C type for me in this race. What did you kind of think?
Yeah, I have him down as a B. We're talking about the pace setup. The horse on the rail, Ocean Atlantique. He's an E8 listed on Brisnet. Um, I know that, and with the rail draw, he's going to go. But I looked at his fractions. To me, even though he's like a early running horse, I just don't know if he's that fast. So I think but that lines up with him being pushed by some others. Bye Melvin on the outside. I know he's going to go, but again, a horse that, if you look, there's a lot of ones in his lines, but that's longer races, and some of his races at this distance, the fractions just aren't that fast. You got Sayas on a horse that I think's very interesting. That it would not shock me if he's on the lead, stretching out a little bit. Um, I think this pace does heat up, and I think that does knock Wolfie's Dynaghost down. I just, like you said, there's whether he gets the lead or he stalks, it's not going to be the ideal situation for him.
Yeah, and optics is tool I use all the time for kind of mapping out pace, and um, you know they have a hard time with this race. I mean, if you look at the plot, it just looks like a mess. It just looks like there's circles and squares everywhere. What you generally want to see is a nice plot from top left down to bottom right, like all in a row. When you see these horses all over the place, it kind of means like it's having a hard time. What I do notice is that most of the horses are on the left side of the plot, which to me tends to be all right. A lot there's more horses that are going to kind of be part of the early pace than not. And if you look, your horse there up to the mark is that big old square here in the back. He's going to be coming late. Um, I really, as kind of my second choice, kind of a B type. The horse I kind of like is the other little square that's right next to this five, which is the two masterpiece. I was previously in the Chad Brown barn, then went over to Mike McCarthy, and when he first came scene, I thought that this was Chad's next big turf horse in 20, and I think it was 2021. I was like, I was waiting because I think the horse came, won like a stake right away, and I was like, all right, this horse is just going to come and just going to keep winning. And he's turned into a nice horse. He's not the overwhelming turf monster I thought he was going to be, but similar to the five horse that you talked about earlier, I think that if this horse can get a setup in front of him, I think he's very very dangerous. And I think that he might get that setup. If you go back to the Ed Reed back in of July of this last year. If you look, Brisnett's got it coded as a pretty fast pace up front with these plus 15s here. And sure enough, he just closes in, beats horses like Hong Kong Harry, who's going to be a short price in here, who I think is a bit of a takeout reducer. I really don't want Hong Kong Harry going much more than a mile. Um, and although he's won at a mile and 16th, he's one I have a little bit more question about getting that extra half furlong. But Masterpiece, I think mile and an eighth or even longer, I think is perfect for him. Christophe Lemaire sees fit to ride here, which, if you don't know who Christophe Lemaire is, he's a leading rider in Japan. He is just an excellent, excellent rider on the dirt, on the turf. It doesn't matter. And I think the fact that he sees fit here to ride. I mean, this is like old school. Like if Frankie Dettori came over to ride a
Hmm.
horse, and like he happens to pick up a mount, like you paid attention. So I kind of get similar vibes here. So I like Masterpiece here as kind of a B type. I'll probably use a two, and I'll probably use your five as well a little bit. Just even talking with you a little bit more and looking at it again. I mean, it's a 4 year old, right? You would expect maybe a little bit of improvement. Question is on the distance, but we'll see what kind of price we kind of get here on the five up to the mark. But I'm actually pretty confident just using Santine as a single A, and I'll probably use the two and the five as kind of Bs in this race.
Yeah, I like the two. I talked about figuring out your pace and you figure out your late running horses. Um, Also figuring out the class of the field. Santine is the standout class of this field. He's I know we talked about him, but he's $1.5 million in earnings. But next up on class is Spooky Channel and Masterpiece. So I actually tend to lean on maybe more of a B. I'm going to let Masterpiece beat me. I We kind of talked about this, but with Safi outside of maybe Gulfstream in New York, he's going to have to prove it to me here at Churchill. This horse argues kind of looks like he's kind of. I will say one thing I do like is this last race at a mile and a half makes a big move, hits the front, flattens out. Now he's going to cut back. That kind of to me tells me at this distance, if he makes that same move, he is going to be right there. So that's a factor, but I like others more. So I'm going to let Masterpiece beat me. But Spooky Channel's a horse that I think I would rather use instead of Masterpiece. Um, I just think this horse is one of those. He's 8 years old now. He's in really good form. He's won what, four of his last five. He hits the board. Rosario stays up. I love Rosario on either pure speed or closers, and so I think that this horse in this race, even though that he has races where he can kind of sit the middle, I think he'll be a little bit in the back. Um, and I think he's a great hitting the board underneath horse in this race. I think he will get missed in the betting as well. So I think you're going to get 8, 9 to 1 on this horse. What do you think of Spooky?
Yeah, I mean this is just like one of those horses that just races every race. I feel like we talk about him multiple times every year. It's hard to ignore what he's done the last couple times. I've always thought he was better longer, but he came back here in this mile and the eighth fairgrounds race and won from off the pace. I just have a hard time with this fairgrounds form because the fairgrounds was just very, very, very weird this
Yeah, it
winter with the
was.
turf. You saw horses going to the outside rail and closing. So I just don't know how that form is going to translate over to the also weird Churchill Downs turf. So yeah, I'm gonna keep a close eye on the turf the next couple days, and we'll see how the turf course is kind of holding up, see how horses are running on it. But yeah, we'll Spooky Channel probably just not gonna make my tickets, but I mean if he wins, it's not like I'm gonna be like, oh, like what a surprise, I
Yeah.
mean I think the morning line kind of reflects that too, right? He's 5 to 1, he's right there in that middle price. So anything else? Any other horses you want to talk about in this race?
I mean, you kind of talked about. I mean, we're the morning line favorite, so to speak. I'm fading as well in Hong Kong Harry. I think what scares me about a horse like this is that he's the morning line favorite. I don't expect him to be the favorite. And what if he drifts up to 6 to 1? It's like sometimes it's hard in these races where if he's 6 to 1 or 7 to 1, he's the fourth choice. Then it's a totally different ball game sometimes. But um, I kind of agree with you. I think he's kind of like a grade two, grade three horse. He tried grade one company the first time. He's going to be second off the layoff, so he probably will improve. But I just don't know. Even if he does improve, I like Santine and up to the mark so much more than him. So at that point, to me, I'm not going to use him. Um, and the other horses to me are just kind of in a situation where I think the pace is going to hinder like Steady On and the Saya's horse and the front running horses, and I just don't know how good they are. So I'm actually pretty confident in 5 and 8 here, and then a little bit in Wolfie if he's a different horse. I kind of like him just a little bit, and same with Spooky. So
Sounds good. Before I let you go, real quick, Derby. Give me your
ooh.
30-second Derby thoughts.
All right. Well, I love Kings Barnes. I know a lot of people don't like him. I love him. I love Dermasotogaki. Feels like a lot of people are fading the UAE Derby form, but Japan over the last 3 years is Mendelssohn was a European turf horse that aired on that track. This is a Japanese dirt horse that's legit. So I like him a lot. And Two Phils. I know the synthetic might have moved him up, but he's got a big race at Churchill. He's run good on dirt. He's been a part of fast paces. I think he's a horse that for the price he probably will be. I like. So those are my like three kind of where I'm leaning on top, and then Forte and Tapatrice to me are two horses where I'll have everywhere underneath. I think they'll be coming. They'll be coming. I think that I like the other three just as on top picks.
Yeah, I think we almost see it exactly the same. So that's fun. I, I was talking with Gino Picola earlier, and I just told him, I was like, man, I was like, if Two Phils wins, dude, I'm gonna be going nuts. So but and then I have a nice futures bet on Dermasotogake. So I'm hoping that
I
comes in.
I will say this: I have two future bets on verifying at 50 to 1 and 36 to 1, and so I kind of feel like with him, I like him a little bit, but I think I'm just going to let him beat me at this point, and then if he beats me, I still cash, which would be great. But um, yeah, so it should be fun.
Cool. Well, where can people find you on Twitter?
At Feldyman 15, posting about the races on the weekends and sometimes during the day, and talk a lot of sports and horses in general. So excited to be on the stream here, and good luck to everybody this week. It's one other thing I love: Oaks Derby Day, $1 supers. They pay really well, so just I love playing those on both days. So
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Nick. And we'll be moving
yeah,
on to the big one after this one.
yeah. Thank you for having me.
No problem.